Good evening from San Ignacio Town with the 9 o'clock news. I am Patrick Jones. The worsening situation in the sugar industry was the focus of a mid-morning press conference today in Belize City called by Prime Minister Dean Barrow. As reported previously, a proposed commercial agreement negotiated by the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association, the BSCFA, and the BSI-ASR was rejected at the last minute during a general membership meeting of the BSCFA last Sunday in San Roman Village, Corozal. The sticking point was clauses that were slipped into the draft document and picked up during the vetting process by the BSCFA. Today, Prime Minister Dean Barrow says the unraveling of the support for the negotiated agreement started with those clauses.
I pull no punches in saying that the unraveling that then took place was entirely the fault of ASR-BSI. They insisted on a clause giving them the right to judge cane quality when that function had been agreed as being the province of the SCPC ever since the time of the industry MOU, forged again by this administration, and which was entered into, I think, in 2010.
The Prime Minister also highlighted the crucial role that the sugar industry plays, not only as a lifeblood of the North, but as a significant contributor to Belize's economy.
The damage to the economy of the North and the livelihoods of cane farmers increases with each passing day. According to the Central Bank of Belize, sugar exports generated $107.5 million Belize dollars in 2012 and $107.3 million Belize dollars in 2013. 5,500 farmers make up the BSCFA, and sugar income underpins these many thousands of households, paying their everyday bills, servicing their mortgages, sending their children to school, and in the main, preserving the quality of life for both the Orange Walk and the Corozal districts.
Prime Minister Barrow told the nation via the press conference that was broadcast on radio and television that despite what some people might think and have been saying publicly for some time, government cannot force the start of the crop season. To do so, says the Prime Minister, would involve dire consequences.
I had a meeting yesterday with ASR, and they made their position crystal clear. They will not open their factory doors and start a crop unless the agreement that was reached is signed either by the Committee of Management of the BSCFA or by a sufficient number of branches and individual farmers of the BSCFA, such as would guarantee a minimum delivery of 500,000 tons of cane. And I repeat that after the most careful examination of the Sugar Industry Act and the legal and factual circumstances, it is government's unalterable conclusion that it is impossible to compel BSI to accept cane deliveries and mill and market cane against its will. Any such attempt would not just be illegal, but would, as was made clear to me, cause the manufacturer to immediately shutter their factory permanently and leave Belize.
But while that is the view from government, not everyone sees it that way. The opposition People's United Party, via its Northern Caucus, today told us that government is taking sides. And Jose Mai says the side that government is taking is not the right side.
We have always said that we will give the benefit of the doubt to the farmer. In this case, we have always said that we will support the cane farmer. However, we maintain that both farmer and miller must benefit equitably from the industry. So we have always said that the not agree with the three points in the agreement, and hence we maintain that position. I heard the press conference. I was very attentive to the press conference, and I'm very disappointed at the Prime Minister, because it has been more than 3 years, I think, that the Supreme Court ruled that there were sections of the Act that were unconstitutional, especially the section that deals with freedom of association, freedom to associate, and freedom of not to associate. We knew that. Okay? We have been calling on government for a very long time for them to review the Act, because the Act has become, to a certain extent, obsolete. But here, after the ruling of the Supreme Court, they refused to implement what the Supreme Court had mandated. They refused. But now, because it's convenient to them and it favors ASR, the Prime Minister now will implement the law. That is very, very unfair. It is one-sided. It is biased towards ASR, and that is our serious concern as a party.
Today, cane farmers went to the offices of the BSCFA in Orintwak Town with the hopes of collecting their disbursement of funds that was approved at the special general meeting last Sunday. There has been a hesitance to proceed with the disbursement because the Fair Trade Organization has indicated to the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association that if the $4 million of fair trade funds is used in the manner the cane farmers want it to be used, it could result in the decertification of Belize. The BSCFA had previously offered to disburse $1.5 million that is not from fair trade funds. But the farmers are insisting on the $4 million that was approved by the general membership meeting. Jose Mai says while he understands the predicament that cane farmers are in, he does not support touching fair trade funds for purposes other than what it was intended for.
I do not agree with $4 million being distributed in the way it is going to be. But I do understand why it's being done. But if the farmers have no money, they have bills to pay, they have tuition fees to pay, they have medical bills, they have food, the food bill to pay at the store, and they're unable to do so. I have my workers calling me every day to see what they can do to earn some money. So I do not believe that it is the wisest way to spend the money. I do not believe that. I believe that these fair trade funds are there to be used in a sustainable manner, and that we can ensure that next 2 years, our productivity is increasing because of the way in which we are spending the fair trade money. But giving it out to farmers like that is not the wisest way to spend the money. And I certainly believe it will have repercussions for fair trade. So I'm not convinced that this is the wisest thing to do, but I understand the urgency and the need for the farmers to have this money. And it didn't have to go to this could have been solved a long time ago. We didn't have to go to this if we had only started the crop.
So, in effect, it appears that government support for the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association is just about over, as Belmopan is now encouraging farmers to start dealing directly with BSI ASR instead of through the Belize Sugarcane Farmers Association. The ongoing situation in the sugar industry is worth watching, and we will continue to bring you developments as they occur. The 9 o'clock news will continue after these messages.
We all have our bucket list and plan to start fulfilling them someday.
Anytime now. Don't worry, babe. You can do it.
Go, Mom! You can do this!
Why not turn someday into today with an easy credit personal loan? Atlantic Bank can make it happen. We offer loans at competitive interest rates with low monthly payments for all your financing needs. Because life should be easy.
How was it, Mom? It was good.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
When I exercise, I do only the most rigorous and complex techniques to challenge my body and keep it at its best. When I am building my body strength, I go for the heavy weights to keep my muscles challenged. When I prepare my meals, I make sure everything is fresh and tap into all my food groups. When I need internet service, I use Smart Zoom service to ensure reliability and speed. I am Rigo Veos, two-time Mr. Belize. I use only the best. I choose smart, and so should you.
Somebody say, live the life. Live the life. Somebody say, live the life. Somebody say, live the life. Live the life. Live the life.
You're watching the 9 o'clock news. Making headlines today, the impasse in the sugar industry continues. And today, Prime Minister Dean Barrow hosted a press conference in Belize City to discuss government's position. Meanwhile, cane farmers in the north were today insisting on the disbursement of millions of dollars from fair trade funds, a move that could land Belize in hot water with the Fair Trade Organization. And media workers today attended an environmental workshop in Bermudan Landing Village. Belize will be receiving additional funding under the CARSI program this year. The additional funds is in the amount of $4.1 million. The notice of the increased assistance was handed over to the CEO in the Ministry of National Security, George Lovell, and the CEO in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Lawrence Sylvester, last week. According to a press release from the U.S. Embassy, the additional funding will help Belize improve its border inspection, policing and equipment, vetted units, drug demand reduction, regional and maritime and land interdiction, capacity enhancement, prison management, and community policing. Since 2008, CARSI has provided approximately $20 million in assistance to Belize, including the new funding. The Department of the Environment is challenging media houses in Belize to do more environmental reporting. And today, the department took the first step in moving towards it by hosting a media training. It was an opportunity for journalists to visit one of the more scenic parts of the country, the Community Baboon Sanctuary in Bermudan Landing Village. Today's workshop was designed to provide links and establish collaboration between the Fourth Estate and the department to bring more environmental issues to the news stream. Edgar Eck is the Deputy Chief Environmental Officer.
Partnership with the media, not only us, but because the other way as well, no? The media having a weak partnership with the different government entities. So what we're trying to do is to strengthen that so that we could share information, provide you with the information necessary that you could make up the story that deals with the environment.
It's not all talk, as according to EC, the department will endeavor to make information and personnel more readily available to media houses to cover stories. Part of the effort includes training frontline persons to be able to build relationships with the media and being more even-handed in its response to negative issues as well as positive ones. Presenters from the various sections of the department, such as Fisheries, Forestry, National Protected Areas, the Climate Change Office, and the Protected Areas Conservation Trust, PACT, spoke on their work and listed various events and other means of interaction with the press and, by extension, the public. In its 50th year of existence, the Fisheries Department, represented by Fisheries Officer Felicia Cruz, is focusing on creating more awareness of overfishing and other issues on the sea and enforcement on those flouting the laws.
Well, the department is currently engaging with the other departments underneath the Ministry of Forestry, Fisheries and Sustainable Development, and we are trying to collaborate together so that when we do our awareness, we do it as a ministry versus a department. We will be still focusing on fisheries related issues, but as you all may know, a lot of the issues are overlapping. You know, the Department of the Environment, Climate Change Office, Forest Department, NPAS, they are all overlapping issues with Fisheries Department. So definitely we are working on that effort to go out to more communities and do more enforcement and awareness.
Consultant with Perfect Green Belize, Deidre Haylock, explains that while the fast-paced nature of today's media business exposes certain limitations, a place can still be made for stories that link the use and abuse of natural resources to Belizean lifestyle and culture, because one way or another, it affects us all.
So it has to be a commitment on the part of the news stations to have that balance in their news package. It has to be an interest on the part of the reporter to want to stay informed about such a technical area as environment that has a lot of jargons, a lot of acronyms, and they are taxed every day with the other building the other faces of the news package. So it's a commitment on all sides. As I said, it's a relationship that requires the media to be committed to want to present those kinds of stories, and it's a commitment on the news source, whether it's government or private sector, to want to facilitate the information. One of the things we said to the government officials here today is that you may not be able to just send a press release anymore. You may have to send a briefing or a background document along with it, so that you can start to add some of the information there, and you can start to highlight some of the aspects and some of the issues involved on that particular topic that you're addressing in your press release, because environment is not a one-off, one-shot, one-source kind of story. It's very technical, it needs to be investigated, but the journalists also have to be committed to want to inform themselves, to want to do research, to want to chase it, to want to have a nose for it.
Today's media training in Bermudan Landing was attended by the majority of media outlets from across the country. And while in Bermudan Landing today, reporters got a chance to visit the Community Baboon Sanctuary, which is home to between 4,000 and 5,000 black howler monkeys. The sanctuary is celebrating its 30th anniversary next month and covers 7 villages in the area, but is centered in Bermudan Landing. Tour guide Robert Panting Jr., who has been working with the sanctuary for 24 years, says it took some time for the monkeys to feel comfortable with humans, but it's still not a good idea to get too close.
Okay, actually what happened, when tourists get a chance of being this close to monkeys, they feel so excited about it, not knowing that we could interact with monkeys that close. But it took us years to do this. It's not an overnight dream. And even out here, while we're coming out here, it's not only monkeys that normally makes our tour more than interesting. Out here, we do have a number of medicinal plants in the valleys. You have monkeys and you have birds. So that does make our tour more than interesting to tourists.
Now, give us an example of an experience you've had or you've witnessed with tourists and the baboons having that human to animal interaction.
Well, you know, the monkeys, they sometimes will come and just look at you, stare at you real close. I will go closer to the monkey than them. The monkey will just push a hand maybe to me. We try to avoid them from touching the monkeys because people do not know what they could translate to the monkeys. Okay. Due to the fact monkeys can take diseases from human, and also human could get disease from monkeys. So
the sanctuary is a voluntary private protected area, meaning that landowners About 240 of them are asked but not bound to abide by rules keeping the surrounding forest clear and free of obstruction. Sustainable farming is permitted. A women's conservation group is now the direct managers, reporting to a 7-member board of villagers from each village. The sanctuary has moved forward, emphasizing community development through alternative livelihood projects. Conway Young is the volunteer administrative officer for the sanctuary.
One of the challenges is that the sanctuary wasn't, probably a lot of people weren't benefiting from the sanctuary. And so in 1998, when the Women's Conservation Group took over, prior to that we have 4 main goals: conservation, education, tourism, and research. But when the Women's Conservation Group took over in 1998, they implemented a 5th goal called community development, which in other words, alternative livelihood. And so we realized that you can't have conservation and poor people living in the same area, because people rely, especially the Creole people, they would rely on the jungle because they will hunt, they will fish, they will slash and burn. So we started to offer alternative livelihood projects. So if we did some consultation, we asked the people, if we could give you a project to do in your backyard, what would you want to do? Traditionally, because they're already somewhat farmers, they said, okay, I want to raise chickens, I want to raise pigs, I want to do a backyard fish project, organically grown garden. So we would write proposals and get funding to sponsor those projects, and they had no expense. All they needed to do was to show up to the workshops and the training, and if they met all the criteria, then they were given a project. So if you were given a chicken project, we bought the chicken for you, we built the coop for you, and we're going to supply you with food until the chicken is mature enough that you could either sell it or decide to.
The sanctuary makes about $60,000 from tours, including a night walk and river canoe tour, as well as the regular sanctuary tours by baboons. 7 persons are directly employed, and there is work for associated services. And we'll be right back with a look at the weather after these messages.
We all have our bucket list and plan to start fulfilling them someday.
Anytime now. Don't worry, babe. You can do it.
Go, Mom! You can do this!
Why not turn someday into today with an easy credit personal loan? Atlantic Bank can make it happen. We offer loans at competitive interest rates with low monthly payments for all your financing needs, because life should be easy.
How was it, Mom? It was good.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
When I exercise, I do only the most rigorous and complex techniques to challenge my body and keep it at its best. When I am building my body strength, I go for the heavy weights to keep my muscles challenged. When I prepare my meals, I make sure everything is fresh and tap into all my food groups. When I need internet service, I use Smart Zoom service to ensure reliability and speed. I am Rigo Veos, 2-time Mr. Belize. I use only the best. I choose smart, and so should you.
Somebody say, live the life. Live the life. Somebody say, live the life. Somebody say, live the life. Live the life. Live the life.
Turning now to weather news. A cold front will become stationary over our area and maintain moist and unstable conditions heading into the weekend. The general forecast for Belize and her coastal waters is for cloudy skies with a few showers. There will be isolated thunderstorms and periods of rain occurring over most areas, but especially in the north and along coastal areas. Winds over the open sea and along the coast will be northerly to northeasterly at 10 to 20 knots, and conditions will become gusty near showers. The sea state will be moderate, but at times becoming locally rough. Operators of small craft should exercise caution. Low temperatures tonight will be around 70 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 64 degrees Fahrenheit inland. Tomorrow, the high temperature will be 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 84 degrees Fahrenheit inland, and 72 degrees Fahrenheit up at the exposed areas of the mountain Pine Ridge and along the Maya Mountains in the south. The tides. There will be a high tide at 11:55 tonight. This will be followed by a low tide at 4 minutes to 7 o'clock in the morning. The sun will rise at 6:25 tomorrow morning. It will set at 5:34 on Thursday evening. The extended forecast, valid through to Saturday evening, is for cloudy spells with showers that should be, and periods of rain mostly over northern and some coastal areas of the country. And that is a look at the weather with information provided by forecaster Frank Tench Jr. at the Belize Weather Bureau. And that is the news this Thursday. Our news lines remain open all the time, and you can visit our website for continuing coverage of the latest developments from across the country. Thank you for joining us. I am Patrick Jones. Have a good night.